Welcome to the Art and Science of Complex Sales. This is the Leadership Quarter. This is a podcast for revenue, sales, and go-to-market leaders and practitioners that is focused on bringing you insights from the best and brightest the world has to offer. The Leadership Quarter is focused on asking the critical questions. How do we develop and empower sales leaders to build strong cultures and teams to hit our growth goals? Experts from around the world give their experiences and opinions on this critical aspect of sales. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow on your favorite podcast platform. And let's dive into introducing today's guests. Today, we are talking with CEO and founder of GirlzWhoSell, Heidi Solomon-Orlick. With over 35 years of global complex B2B sales and leadership experience, Heidi is a passionate and successful sales exec who's closed over $1.5 billion in revenue. Today, we talk about sales leadership and her passion project, GirlzWhoSell. This is an organization that aims to train and build the largest pipeline of early-stage female sales talent in the world. She offers training, mentoring, and career coaching to young women who want to pursue a sales career. Heidi is also the editor and author of Heels to Deals, How Women Are Dominating in Business-to-Business Sales, an esteemed voice in the community of women in sales, founder and leader of the Women's Impact Network, and an experienced revenue leader. So let's get started with Heidi. Heidi, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Paul. I'm so glad that Pamela connected us. We're finally able to make it work. Yay.
We're making it happen. And for some reason, I was cheering at a soccer game the other day, and these girls were on fire, and I was like, "Girls on fire, Katniss Everdeen!" And for some reason, that ties me right to GirlzWhoSell. So I'm pumped for this. I'm pumped for this. This is going to be exciting. You got it. And so everybody, Heidi is CEO and founder of GirlzWhoSell. We're gonna put her through the ringer today and ask her all the hard questions.
I'm ready,
and including the very first one, which is, Heidi, you got to define sales for us.
So that is such a great question because I think at GirlzWhoSell, we spend a lot of time overcoming some of the myths and barriers and misperceptions of what sales is and what sales isn't. So right up my alley. So thanks for asking, Paul. And I actually think that, I know that sales is really about service. I've done several keynote speaking engagements talking about the power of servant selling. So similar to what you would think of in servant leadership, but really applying the same concept to the sales engagement. And I believe that sales is about solving complex problems, about building relationships, and really trying to understand, I guess, the issues and concerns that your customer is trying to overcome. It's not about the salesperson. It's not even about the product or service that you're trying to sell. It's all about how you serve your customer.
Well, and we just talked about this a little bit right before we hopped on. And when I mean a little bit, maybe like 6 seconds, around mindset and the ability to dramatically shift your mindset to get into that right mentality of service and leadership rather than product and pitching. How does that tie in with GirlzWhoSell and what you're teaching out there today?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now at GirlzWhoSell, I think sales still gets a bad rap. There's been a lot of emphasis on STEM and STEAM, which I think is great. I'm 100% behind that and feel like it's very important, but those careers are not necessarily for everyone. And I think what we are really trying to do is position sales as a viable career alternative that should be considered by particularly young women, because obviously that's what we focus on. Our mission is to not only close the gender gap in professional sales, but to build the largest pipeline of diverse early stage female sales talent. And in my mind, in order to do that, well, there's a lot of organizations that work with women who are already in sales and upskilling them and helping them career path. Where we focus is really getting younger. So, working with college students, early college grads. And actually, Paul, we're starting to get younger. So I talked in our prep session about, we just did our first graduation for a high school program out of Portland, which I'm super excited about. It was a pilot. And I'm actually getting younger, going and implementing middle school sales clubs and sales camps, and even launching a kids club. So I believe that long term, we need to position sales as an option that women should consider to achieve economic and financial independence. I mean, I joke because it's like when you ask a young woman, or girl, what do you want to be when you grow up? Mm-hmm. I've never heard in my life, I want to be in professional sales. Well, maybe we can change that, Paul. Perhaps in my lifetime, we can start to shift that. But even if, one thing that we talk about a lot is, even if you don't opt into a professional sales career, sales is it's a life skill. It's something that you're going to use throughout your life, whether you're selling an idea or selling yourself in a job interview or whatever. I can give 100 examples of where sales is such an important skill.
Well, there's an interesting thing relative to shifting perceptions around sales. And I think and I've talked about this a bunch on the podcast, this generation, we almost are a victim of victim's the wrong word. It's not a victim. We carry the baggage of the past in many ways, of the schmarmy, the persuasive, and you need to be persuasive, but the schmarmy, the in it for the money, the commission brush, all that thing. And there has been a large transition in, I think, most of the people that I talk to that has realized that doesn't work, but we still carry that baggage of the past. Mm-hmm. And we carry that baggage of the past in a couple of ways. Number one, we haven't implemented a really good, and that's why I asked this question, a really good definition of sales that truly embodies what the profession is. And two, we train many times on, techniques from the 60s, 70s, and 80s instead of mindset, skill set, and tool set of today that we can bring that servant leader to the core, to the heart. So that's what I hear you're doing with girls as early as middle school. That's super exciting.
Yeah, and we're even going to get younger with creating a digital subscription box service that is going to teach sales, STEAM, and entrepreneurship skills for young girls 5 to 9. So I believe that it's never too early to begin having these kinds of conversations. I think what happens too is that this misperception of sales as being sleazy and slimy and Wolf of Wall Street, as an example, is perpetuated by the media. And I think that we definitely need to have a mindset shift and realize that sales it's just a part of life, right? And a lot of the sales training, if you look at especially the early sales training, when maybe you and I'm a little older than you are, I'm sure, but when I was going through some sales training, that's what it was all about. It was about quota and meeting numbers, and there wasn't a lot of focus on how do you solve problems, how do you build relationships, how do you actually effectively engage in an authentic way. And I see shift to some of the training that you see today, but in my mind, we're not going far enough.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. It's actually one of our missions here. And one of the reasons I was so excited to connect with you is to elevate the sales profession. And what we mean by that, right, is to be able to give people to arm the right talent, right, to to take those people that have the talent, to arm them with the transformation abilities. And what I talk about there is what are the methodologies, the definitions, the methodologies, the mindsets, the skill sets that they need to have, and then build that into the third T of this, which is the technology, because technology is meant to reinforce, guide, and coach rather than
replace.
Hinder and replace. Yeah. And so it's one of those things. I am very interested in how you're bringing this to sales leadership. Then let's move from the early programs with women and youth and sales to let's talk about the sales leadership of today. So what do you see? What is sales leadership today? What does it consist of? And how are you looking to impact that to help your cause with women in sales?
Yeah, I don't necessarily differentiate between sales leadership and leadership in general, although I have seen an evolution over time of the CRO role within an organization. I've always felt that leadership is, a really powerful leader is someone that inspires and motivates and takes accountability, is definitely more people focused, is a molder of consensus, and can translate sort of vision, company vision, into reality. So bringing that forth into reality. Whereas someone who more manages a sales organization is definitely more tactical than strategic, right? In my mind, you can tell me if you agree, but they are focused more on outcomes. So the numbers and revenue targets, and are we meeting our goals, and are we prospecting, and all of those kinds of measurements that we would look at. What's our MQL to SAL to SQL conversion percentages, and all the data analytics that makes my mind explode sometimes. But a manager is more outcome focused versus people focused. They're about executing to a plan. They oversee change, control versus empower people, and then concentrate on the present, where, managers in my mind are very present oriented versus, future focused, which, a leader. Both skills are really important, by the way. As a CRO, in my mind, you kind of have to walk that fine line and have that balance between those skills to really have a successful sales organization. What I think, though, and what I've seen and I've lived as a woman, is that there's a lot of inherent bias, and there's a lot of, what is perceived to be a strong skill or coveted skill amongst men in the workplace is not necessarily coveted for women. So, women are often called, bossy or calculated or aggressive, whereas the mirror to that in a man is actually something that is celebrated, right? So, and I think that starts at a very young age. I do. I think when young girls are taught not to be bossy, and we need, and so, it may be why women in some cases are stronger leaders, because we do develop what are the inherent leadership skills along the way. That's one of the things that we cover in Girls Who Sell is how to shift that mindset and provide girls with the, to empower girls, right? And embrace their inner leader, right? So looking at giving them the space to take risks, to work in teams versus individual sports, which inspires independence, to create opportunities for connection and collaboration and competition. I was a competitive athlete, right? So I learned very early on the power of competition, but not all girls have that kind of experience, right? expose them to a diverse range of female mentors and role models at a young age. It can start in the home. So as you know, through parenting, but it's also, you know, there's other ways through teachers and coaches and other types of role models that can play very important roles. So I just think we need to start shifting mindset and stop labeling and put bias into the box where it deserves. I mean, women and girls are natural born leaders. We just need to be able to develop those skills, and we certainly need more of them because diverse teams perform better. So I don't know if I went down a rabbit hole, and even if I answered your question, but I told you I was the master of rabbit holes. So, but I feel pretty strongly about that.
Well, I can tell. I have to go down a rabbit hole. You said an athlete. What was your sport of choice?
So I was an alternate on the U.S. equestrian team for eventing. So I did. Yeah. So I did. Yeah. When I was younger and much braver, I did dressage, stadium jumping, and cross country. I started riding at a very early age. My parents would send me to summer camps, and it was those summer camps were day camps because I grew up in California. So we didn't have like the camps at the East Coast where you would go away for a couple weeks or whatever. We went to day camps, and, you know, they would be doing, I don't know, archery and I don't know, all these different things that you do in day camps. And all I wanted to do was hang out with the horses, and that evolved into a passion. So I was competing at a pretty high level. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. So, and I learned a lot of life lessons that I actually apply to my approach to sales today. So I think there's some data and research, again, not to go down a rabbit hole. We could do a whole session on this, but there is definitely a correlation between students, both men and women, who compete at a high level in athletics and individuals who are successful sales professionals. So I think that we do have, you know, transferable skills that are really, really important. But yeah, that's what I did. I also played tennis. I skied. So I was definitely an athlete. I was on the tennis team in my college, but horses was definitely my thing.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, congratulations. That's awesome on that career. And I take that because I do see it's interesting. I want to get down into you with some of I want to question some of the things that you said before. And I definitely want to do that. The first thing, though, I want to address is that connection between what you learn early on and that leadership and that ability in athletics. One of the things I want to highlight is you're right. There is that combination, but getting women, getting men, getting anybody into sales and this training earlier on, I think is a really good way to, if somebody's not athletic, that's fine, but to foster that leadership and competition and those type of things earlier on in their life and give them the tool set and the skill set to actually do it, to give them that servant leader's heart, you know, and that servant leader's mindset and that leadership mindset of that ability to go in and make changes. It's incredibly important because I learned a lot of those skills in athletics too. And I didn't until I was a accidental salesperson. Until I got into sales, I really didn't. And even the first couple of years, I didn't really know even how to transfer those skills into what I was doing. But that link and that ability to early on to train those leaders, you know, sales is leadership. Right? It is. So to train them, I applaud the heck out of you for that work. That is amazing.
Thank you. And I agree. I mean, there are a lot of fabulous, highly successful salespeople that never competed in athletics. So I just wanted to mention that there does seem to be a correlation between that. Also with like veterans or, you know, the skill sets where leadership plays a very prominent role in some of the training that you go through, I think is, you know, educators too, right? Like I think that there's a lot of transferable skill sets that make for successful salespeople. I think, part of what it comes down to, Paul, is this idea of building confidence early on, because I do believe the confidence factor is fundamental to being successful in sales. In anything in life, right? Like confidence,
anything
if
in
you're
life.
negotiating, it's just, you see, and I don't have the data, I should have pulled it, but right in front of me, but you see, up until about 5th grade, girls and boys' confidence tend to parallel each other. But unfortunately, in 5th grade, girls' confidence begins to plummet, while confidence within young, boys and young men increase. And, it's just, it's a fact. So I think starting earlier, but really focusing on that middle school demographic where confidence begins to plummet in young girls is fundamentally important to building the right skill sets, not only to be successful in sales, but just to be successful in life.
Yeah, I agree. There's one of those middle school, I think, is it was my most hated time of life. But then I look at my girls. I have 2 girls. One's about ready to go into middle school. One's just leaving middle school. She is so excited to be done with that.
Oh my God. I don't know.
And the other one is terrified of going into it because she's the smallest one in the class.
Girls are terrifying. And I don't know how any of us survived middle school, right?
Yeah. But that's the time, right? It's the time when you're in this formation and you need that. And I don't know if you agree with me on this. I say the worst advice that we could give to a child at that age is to say, well, you got to go find yourself, because I think we know who they are, each made individually as a wonderful little person that they're just, and giving them that confidence, and that comes from my faith, but giving them that confidence of being able to live into that, right, and live into that as a leader in that time period is life-changing for them.
Yeah, I agree. I had the privilege recently of speaking to 7th and 8th grade girls in a local middle school here in New Hampshire. And I have to admit, I was so nervous going into that meeting because, I took the responsibility very seriously because I know that I'm going in and have the potential to influence and shape young minds. And I think I was more nervous walking into that classroom than I ever was, presenting to a CEO or senior VP of any company that I ever sold to. But it was interesting because they were really sponges, and I was there to talk about sales and entrepreneurship skills. And they asked some of the best questions that I've ever heard. I mean, it was really profound, and their level of engagement was really, strong, right? And I thought I was going to go in there and they were going to be bored and who is she and what do I have to, but it's like, so what's it like to be an entrepreneur? How do you become an entrepreneur? What does it mean to lead? Some of their questions were just incredibly profound. And it really reinforced to me the desire to work with that age group to begin building confidence and begin triangulating, this concept of sales, entrepreneurship, and STEAM. Because I think if we could, I think right now is very siloed. It's like either or. Well, no, it doesn't need to be an either or. You may not want to code, but you can go sell for a technology company. You may not want to be a doctor, but you can go sell for a biomedical company or a pharmaceutical company or whatever. So starting to really triangulate those things and also give them alternatives to, corporate is really great, for you to go and get a job and build your skills and build your experience. But entrepreneurship is also an alternative that you can consider, and bringing those entrepreneurship skills to the table earlier on, I think creates the whole person, right? It's the whole person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's well, a lot of what
Does
you're
that
talking
make
about.
sense, or is that
To me it does. A lot of what you're talking about reminds me of I don't know Mike Rowe and his work in the trades, right? I actually believe that is so impactful when you can early on start to work with youth and break down the you are not enough. You can lead. There's so much stuff you can do out there, right? And now it is about finding what you want to do, but you yourself as a person, you do have it in you to be a leader. I mean, everybody does. You have it in you to be a leader, to be confident, to go out there, to serve, to sell. And I do the same thing. I'm able to talk to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in a little slightly different way. I've been doing it for some ministry stuff, but it's really cool to be able to deliver that message and then get the questions about exactly what you're talking about. How do I develop the skills to be a leader? How do I do that? Oh, this is something I can learn?
Exactly. Wait, I thought you had to be born. I thought you were born salesperson.
Yeah.
Wait,
I'm not the
no, they're not.
I'm not the most athletic kid out there. I'm not the great, but I can learn to be a leader. Absolutely. 100%. And so you get these questions, and I love it. I know we're spending a lot of time here, but it's diving in at that level. And I also see I see a huge correlation between this and I'm not going to divide up into men and women, because I think for me, it's a passion across, is how we give that to sales people, right? And get away from again, we've overmanaged and undertrained salespeople over the last couple decades. We have undercoached, undertrained, underinvested, and overmanaged, because at least in software, because we focused on all those numbers that if you weren't hitting the right numbers and the right, CAC to LTV and, all they're important numbers, very important numbers. But when you use them as a hammer, number of phone calls to conversations to this, to this, to this, to this, all important numbers. You have to know that about your sales cycle. But I think we've thought we could put somebody into a factory and say, do this again and again and again and again and again and again and again, and we can expect them to grow as a leader and a person. Instead of, we still need to put them in that factory, but we need to walk alongside them and lift them up at the same time. So I'm going on a bit of a rant.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. I think it's really a really important call out, because, companies, so at Girls Who Sell, we're focused on getting these young women career ready. And we focus on on early stage career jobs, right? So, okay, you've decided that sales is cool. It's something that, it's a profession that you'd like to pursue. Then it's like, well, then how do I get a job in sales? And so we're launching a course right now that's focused on career readiness for young women in early stage career jobs. The thing is that so companies say, one, we do want to increase diversity in sales. We're very committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And yet, if you look at their sales teams, that it doesn't necessarily play out. And a lot of organizations spend a lot of money on upfront recruiting, even for early stage sales positions, but then they don't give them the right tools and training and opportunities to career path. So what they end up doing is spending a lot more money in filling empty buckets. And I do believe that there's, particularly in the software industry, we've seen this. The amount of turnover that's happened in tech sales is just mind-blowing to me over the last year and a half. Hundreds of thousands of jobs have been lost, and so many in the entry level, that early stage to mid-level management level of an organization. And one, I think there's just unrealistic expectations, but two, there's, people are not being given the right training in order to succeed. So they're bailing.
Yeah. And I think one of the, this just hit me. One of the things that you're doing that I really appreciate. And so here's where is the point in time you're engaging on this training, that early career, pre-early career, making it an option that's a viable option. Because when I get in the world now and I'm looking for, again, I hire, but I talk to a bunch of people that hire. When you look at, the applications that come in, they are 70-30 men, right? Because a lot of times it is this idea of where you get, early on in that career, when you're starting to look at options, it's men have been more likely to fall into sales, right? Oh yeah, okay.
100%.
Because of the perception. Oh yeah, I'll just maybe I could go get a sales job. Right. And versus the fall into other things, it's not as prevalent there. But to get rid of this, just fall into sales and actually make it reinvigorate the career as an option of one of incredible self-leadership. That's the number one thing in sales that you have to be any good at it, right? Is to lead yourself. But to give them that power and that invigoration at the time you're doing it, I think is brilliant. So how did you come upon that? How did you come upon that? Let's get into your career. Let's finish this out with how you came upon this passion of yours. And why don't we start that with where you started in sales?
So I am sort of like you. I completely fell into sales in my early 30s, although out of college, I did spend the first 10 years of my career in advertising marketing, working in the ad agency business in California. My dad was an entrepreneur and one of the best sales people I knew, but he was flat out when I was in high school, I said to him, listen, he was in the textured coating business. I said, I want to come in and take over your company. And he was like, absolutely not. Right. That is, the textured coating business is not for girls, right? It is for boys. And he actually discouraged me to get into sales just because it wasn't a girl sport, right? Like that. And he was just old fashioned that way, and of course, being the kind of person I am, I had to prove him wrong. So if you weren't going to go and sell for your company, I was going to go sell for others. But it wasn't an intentional career choice for me. And then, it was incredibly male dominated. And I was in BPO, business process outsourcing sales, which is a complex, even today, I would consider it equivalent to like a technology sale. It's that complex. It was just very, very male dominated. And even fast forward 35 years later, it still continues to be predominantly male from a sales perspective. And I didn't have a lot of female role models. And so I decided to be that person to try to support other women that were in the profession, when even before D&I was a thing, and mentor and sponsor and train and support as much as I could. I was blessed to have a very successful career, definitely in the top 1% of sales professionals in the BPO industry. And so, fast forward as I got older and after the death of both of my parents in 2019, started to really think a lot about legacy and giving back. And that was a big part of what my life became. And so I come up with an organization that could leverage my success in professional sales with my passion for working with young women. And once I realized the amount of gender disparity and inequity, particularly amongst women from underserved and underrepresented communities, decided that that's where I could affect change. And so Girls Who Sell, was born, and the rest, I guess, is kind of history. I did it for 3 years, almost 3 years, as a part-time side hustle. And after I lost my job, my job was eliminated. I was SVP for a company last year, September. I kind of decided to lean in and try to take Girls Who Sell to the next level. So that's our origin story. And
Congratulations.
like I had mentioned earlier, there's fantastic organizations that are working with women who are already in sales. But to me, and maybe it's just, my limited thinking, but I thought that's too late, right? That's great. That's great because we can develop the next, generation of sales leadership. But, in order to actually solve for the gender disparity long term, I just started to go younger, and nobody's at least playing in that space right now. There's a lot of you have Girl Scouts, and you have Girls on the Run, and you have a lot of really good organizations that are developing confidence and leadership skills, and like Mighty Girl is a great organization. There's so many. But nothing that is, at least that I know of, that's really focused on sales, similar to what Girls Who Code has done for STEM.
Well, I think, and this is where I guess I think you're actually at a perfect spot, because I have an issue. I have, just being open and honest, a lot of things where I think where people miss the mark is on the DEI stuff, is especially later in the career where they're trying to force people into positions that require a lot of they require knowledge, right? So they require experience, they require that. So if you're forcing positions at that level and trying to do things based on, for the sake and the sole sake of diversity, I think it hurts. When we start to focus on diversity and education and impact at the level of youth and driving forward in those first, second careers, I think it's so good, because it drives that leadership. It forces us to focus on embedding the leadership qualities and the servant qualities of the people. That doesn't matter what sex, doesn't matter what race, doesn't matter what color, doesn't matter any of that stuff. You're a member of the, let's go for it, right? And so here's what it takes to be really good at these types of professions at this type. And I think that is the way to close the gap, personally. And I think you're at a perfect spot for it, because otherwise you get stuck in that conundrum, right? There are people that have worked for a long, long, long time to become experts and mentors in a field that have already started. So how do we break that? Well, we break that at the youth stage. And I love what you're doing. I think this is so cool.
Awesome.
I don't know if you agree with that or not. I mean, do you, that's something that's open for debate.
100%, 1,000%. I absolutely do. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, he has two girl. I'm so excited. I can't wait to as a next step, you have to introduce me to your girls, right? So.
Hey, I got a little picture. Oh
you
man,
have some pictures. I see. I
got a picture back there. Yeah, of them. They're great.
But and
I think it's
maybe we could go talk to their middle school. I'd be happy to do that and volunteer to do that. But I think
would be amazing.
I agree. And I got to tell you, I had so much. I think I may get more out of it than even the girls. Yeah. I get so much joy and satisfaction knowing that we can potentially influence the path of these young girls and helping them to build confidence and to see their true potential and their ability to truly change the world, right? Like the youth are our future. They're, it's a little late for me. Although, I impart my
still
skills
crushing it
to the next generation.
You're leaving no, yeah.
To empower them, right? They can
Yeah,
change
well,
the world.
my daughters would call you a slay queen, a girl boss, and they'd say you're leaving. They say
that.
you're leaving no crumbs. So
perfect. Girl boss.
Yeah.
Hashtag girl boss.
Girl boss has they love it. I was cheering the other day. I was like, leave no crumbs, and they got all so excited. Daddy's hip. Well, this is cool. No, I love the work. I think getting in at the point you're getting in actually really starts to make sense, and it starts to drive impact. I love working with probably some people we should introduce you to. We've had on the podcast as well. Just some amazing people working at colleges like Idaho State or Dallas, University of Dallas. That is really just driving that early career and having great results. So it's an amazing profession when you embrace the fact that you can own it and you can own your own self and your own habits, and those actually will turn out if you keep the right mindset to drive success. If you keep the right ones, and it's so cool. And helping lead young women like that is amazing. So
I appreciate that, and I would love the introductions. Absolutely.
Okay, I'll make them happen, and we'll get them. And then, if you listen to this, how do people that get excited about what you're doing, if they listen to this, connect with Heidi?
So, best way, I'm very accessible through LinkedIn. Obviously, right now, 100% of our programs are subsidized by corporate sponsorship. So, if you're listening to this and you work for a corporation that's committed to diversifying your sales team or just diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in general, please reach out, because that's the foundation of our program, being able to provide scholarships to some of these students and bring our curriculum to high schools and colleges. And then opportunities to sponsor maybe, our middle school sales clubs or kids club down the line. I would be eternally grateful. And then if you're a student interested in learning more, you can go on to our website, GirlzWhoSell. That's girls with a Z, GIRLZ, whosell.com. And you can apply for a scholarship. You can get more information. If you're a professional woman in sales today, and you have a passion for mentoring young women, we pair our students up with professional mentors, both men and women. And you can go and apply for a mentor as well, or just reach out directly to me through LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, wonderful. Congrats on the journey and where you're going. It's great to see this. And everybody, please reach out to Heidi if you have any questions. You can reach out to me if you want an introduction directly to Heidi, if you know me, but reach out directly to her. And then Girls Who Sell, very cool program, very cool thing that you're doing with youth, and congratulations on that. Keep shining bright. And for today, we will sign off and say thanks for listening, everybody. Have an amazing day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the Art and Science of Complex Sales. Please take a moment, subscribe, share this podcast on all your favorite platforms, and let's get the word out. This podcast is proud to be brought to you by Membrane.com. We are the world's top B2B sales platform. And in the world of B2B sales, with everything from prospecting to business acquisition to managing complex growth, Membrane has the right size technology for your sales team. Our latest innovation, the Coaching Cockpit, empowers your leaders, managers, and team with the information and tools they need to take their skills to the next level and to take advantage of the exponential power of effective sales coaching. With our technology and the top team of sales partners around the world, Membrane is helping to achieve our driving vision. This is, quite simply, elevating the sales profession. To learn more, find us at www.membrane.com. That is membrain.com, or contact us via email at sales@membrane.com. Keep shining bright and have a wonderful day.